Sono lieto di poter rievocare, in poche parole, le esperienze delle prime trasmissioni radiotelegrafiche a grandi distanze, da me felicemente eseguite attraverso l'Oceano Atlantico il 12 dicembre 1901.
Holy snapping bra straps.
It's a podcast. Republic of Avalon Radio. It's 0 hours, Avalon Standard Time.
They can never stop with it. We got a lot of money. We got connection around with the bench. So we just keep rocking,
Hi, good morning, listeners. My name is Junior Paris. You are listening to the Republic of Avalon Radio.
You know, I have guys hit. You know, I have to hear the music come through one time. Greetings to everyone.
Hi, this is Indra. I'm from Barbados, and I'm listening to Republic of Avalon Radio. Keep it locked. Keep it locked.
Hey there, this is Georgia from Caribbean Free Radio in Trinidad and Tobago, and you are listening to Roar, Republic of Avalon Radio.
Hi, this is Eddie Grant, and you're listening to the Republic of Avalon Radio. Take your time. Republic of Avalon Radio.
The best radio in the whole wide world.
You're with the roar.
Republic of Avalon Radio. You're with the Roar. I'm Jim Fidler, and welcome to episode 59 of the Roar, in which we have for you what probably will be our final out and about stroll around for the calendar year 2007. Just due to the general cooling nature of the weather at this time of the year, and this will probably be it until things start warming up in spring of 2008, which is regretful to us and to many of you. From what we gather from your feedback, you tend to enjoy our little walkabouts, as we do. You'd think that they would be really easy segments too, because there's nothing planned, and all you have to do is just walk and talk. But you would be surprised how that's not the case. Of course, we don't plan ahead. We don't think things up in advance. Every now and again, we might just ask ourselves before we go out to walk, is there something important that we want to get across? Some bit of feedback we've gotten from one of you listeners, or some bit of information we'd like to get out to you. So we try to be mindful that way, but it's entirely not scripted, and we just go with the flow. And quite often this means nothing really substantial comes out of it. We record, we walk down, and afterward we say to ourselves, that didn't quite work. There's not really anything of any great value there. So we kibosh it. We put the kibosh on it, and it ends up in the bin. but every now and again, I would say the ratio has been quite good, actually. Since we started doing this, we've probably thrown out maybe a quarter of the segments that we've recorded when we go out walking around. There's just something stimulating about it, I guess. We just get out there walking down the street, and I guess it just makes you feel alive, and it stokes your motor, your engine, like on the train, you know, shoveling the coal in. You just feel alive, and you talk, and sometimes you stumble into little bits of humor, little bits of insight, and so on and so forth, that I don't think you would if you were stuck somewhere in an enclosed environment, in the NPR environment, you know, in a sterile box, a sterile soundproof box with a microphone in front of you and a set of headphones. Which is pretty much like where I am here now, but as you can feel and tell and hear and smell and taste, we are not void of ambience here in the Roots Cellar, which is, of course, my studio, the Roots Cellar, which comes from way back when I first started doing recordings here. I guess the first recording, what was the first recording we ever did here? I think it was the From the Inside Out album, the second Pressure Drop album. Yeah, I think so. And then it was shortly thereafter, the Celtic Connection, and a whole bunch of others, Gypsy and Michaela, and Gail Tapper and Eamon Dillon, and all kinds of wonderful stuff. But the main idea, I suppose, in terms of naming the place, was twofold, really. At the time, our basement, which is where we did the bulk of the recording, drums and bass and horns and percussion and vocals and things like that. Keyboards, we mostly did keyboards for the most part, except for the Hammond organ bits that we recorded. Most of the keyboards were done up here in the control room, simply because they don't require any microphones. They just plug in directly, and people can cough and laugh and jump around and do whatever. That being very good for whoever's trying to concentrate on laying down a keyboard track, but you get the point. No microphones, so it wasn't as important to take it downstairs, but there was something wonderful going on about downstairs at the time. The insulation in the room downstairs, all the walls are fully insulated, and the ceiling is unfinished, so it's all just wooden beams, which creates a nice sort of refractory sort of surface, I guess. It's not one smooth surface that reflects sound. The sound refracts and gets broken up, which is always a good thing when you're trying to record something. And the other side of that, you got ceiling, you've got walls, and you have floor. At the time, the floor was completely unfinished. It was a dirt floor, literally. It was a dirt floor. Much like the dirt floors myself growing up as a child. People had basements with dirt floors. In fact, we did as well. And we dug holes in the basement floor and set barrels down into the ground. And these barrels were used to store our food stuffs that we grew. We grew our own potatoes and turnip and carrot and onions and beets and parsnips and all kinds of things. So we grew a lot of our own food, and then we would store the food in these barrels sunk down into the ground in the basement. Now, the technical word for this sort of place is, I guess, a root cellar. That's what most people referred to it as. I think because, maybe not entirely, but because it was a great place to store root vegetables, like such as potatoes and beets and turnips and all these things. Things that grow in the ground, and the flower from the top comes up through the ground. So I grew up with a root cellar, and then suddenly found myself recording music in a roots cellar. And the type of music always that has interested me more so than anything, and it is a bit of a loose term because it can refer to just about any kind of music from anywhere in the world, really, is roots music, I would say. And what is roots music, you may ask? Well, it depends. It really all depends. Some people think roots music means guys with banjos and straw hats, and some people think that roots music means a bunch of guys drinking whiskey and playing bagpipes up in the Highlands, and some people think that roots music means a bunch of Irish fellers dancing in a clearing, playing their whistles and their uilleann pipes and all this and that, and some people think it means some guys in Africa stretching some skin over some hollowed out logs and playing them and singing, and some people think it means people way up north in the Arctic Circle somewhere doing throat singing. I think the most important part of defining roots music is that the music has roots in and of the people. So they don't have to be just old, way back in the past people. They can be very, very now modern day people. There's a roots element to, say, hip hop, for example. There's a lot of the hip hop stuff that has gotten away from the roots, and one can say the same thing of reggae. We have what we call roots reggae, and roots reggae doesn't just mean reggae from the 70s or reggae from the 60s. There are people now in the present, where we are here now in 2007, who are making roots reggae. And it's not, some of it has to do with style. We can't help that, I suppose. Some of the instrumentation and things, you know, we lean toward the Hammond organs and the clavinets, and maybe more toward the one drop and acoustic drum kits more so than using drum machines and things. I guess that can be said of any genre. Whatever genre is, it's a box, it's an area in a record store. When we use these words to describe music, basically what we're doing is we're working for free for the music industry, defining music so that people can know where to put it in the record store. Which I suppose could be said we're doing a service for ourselves because we're making it easy for us to find as well. So you can find like-minded music. If you're interested in folk music, you've heard a few artists and you really, really like that music, and you want to find more of it, well, I suppose it makes it easier to be able to go into the folk section at the record store. So we can wail and moan and pull our hair about being defined and jammed into little boxes as musicians and so on, but ultimately, you know, it does serve a purpose. There's good and bad to everything. But in any case, the whole idea about roots music, that's what I'm mainly talking about, is the whole notion of roots music. I think roots music is honest music. It's music that speaks from a people, which could be geographical or racial or whatever, quite often cultural. It's not just about, oh baby, baby, let's ride my car and boogie woogie all through the night and all that kind of stuff. Which don't get me wrong, that's all fine too. There are times that we just want to boogie woogie through the night, and to have music to do that too. Quite often you hear people, you know, knocking dance music, and because of that oots 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 thing going on all the time. Well, I hasten to point out quite often to people when they knock it, there's a reason why that oots, oots, oots is there. It's for people to dance to. That's not music that you go home and as an audiophile and turn up your $10,000 worth of stereo equipment in your living room and sit back and have it take you away into another universe. That's not the point of that music. That music is specifically designed for people who get out of their houses and go out to some public place where there's a big dance floor and flashing lights, and they just want to let loose aerobically and socially, and they just want to jump around and dip and leap and all these kinds of things. Just let loose and let the spirit in them come out, as it were. So that music serves its purpose as well. Roots dance music. Now that's another interesting idea. And there are various forms of roots dance music. You may laugh, but if you've ever heard tell of something called a jig or something called a reel, there's all kinds of polka, I guess. I guess polka is from the word folk, from the word people. But anyway, yeah, a jig is more of a dance than it is a type of music. I think I touched on that one time before, quite a while ago, how depending on if you're a dancer or if you're a musician, you may consider a jig to be a type of a tune, and a dancer would consider it to be a type of a dance. And I just think, instead of arguing about it, I myself would just let both of them believe whatever they want to believe, as long as the musician keeps playing the jigs for the dancers, and as long as the dancers keep dancing the jigs for the musicians. I think we'll all do fine. But yes, with roots music, the whole idea about roots music, it was for me. I really never really had any great interest in aiming for, I guess, what would you say, pop stardom or anything like that with my music in my life. But yeah, many times throughout my lifetime, I've had opportunities, and I acknowledged them. I knew they were there, and I just chose not to go that way. And it means much less money for me right now, no question about that. But it also means a lot of other very good things that I have that I quite like. Well, not quite likely. I wouldn't have had, because it's too hard. It's just too difficult. You can't live in hotels and enjoy a home life, as I do. Lillian and I have a home here, not just a house. And we're not renting it, we bought it. And we're paying a mortgage, so that's the kind of thinking, as opposed to running around from hotel to hotel and from, fast food joint to fast food joint. We actually have a home, and we actually eat some very, very yummy food. I certainly want to see more of the world. I've seen a chunk of it, but there's a lot more that I want to do, a lot more places I want to see, a lot more people I want to meet, and a lot more people I want to get the music out to. On that roots level. That's the point. The problem was, it wasn't so much with the notion of traveling, or even the hotel rooms or whatever. It was the industry itself. It was the late 20th century music industry, as it existed, how that system worked, the role that musicians played in respect to the labels and the bookers and the venues and all that stuff. It was really a big trashy game for the most part, when you're dealing with all this kind of hoopla, everything jacked up on steroids, and people are thinking about you as being somehow something. It was a kind of a funny contradiction, because in one sense you were sort of extra human. You were this talented, brilliant human being on a stage, singing these songs and playing these instruments, all these things. But on the other hand, behind the scenes, unseen by most people, and many people, anybody who's had anything to do with the music industry in any kind of a serious way, I think over the past several decades, will tell you that there's a lot of humiliation. And the musicians, for the most part, were the absolute bottom dwellers, the lowest rung on the ladder. The whole presentation that they were on the top to the public was a complete fallacy, a complete lie. And some of us, as in George Orwell in his book 1984, referred to something called doublespeak, or doublethink, whichever. The whole notion that you can hold two contradictory truths simultaneously. It creates a disconnect. You can't resolve it in your mind. You know, let's go to war so we can have peace, for example. That sort of idea. And there's no way you can be the slave and the king at the same time. What is my point, you may say? Roots is my point. Roots. When we talk about roots, it rhymes with truths, and that's where the key comes in for me with the music. Truths. In my case, with me and my music, making music or passing music out from myself toward other people with a certain hope in mind, a certain notion that somehow this might make things a little better. If you're interested in certain things, you pursue them, and if you're not, you don't. And in my case, there was a whole lot of stuff I wasn't interested in, so I didn't pursue it. I hope to live my life and be able to travel and make the music and get the music out there, wherever out there is. Get it around, I would say, and hopefully make some sort of a positive difference. Lots of things are going on in the world that aren't necessarily good. And anyone who thinks that they don't exist, they're just not looking. So knowing, perhaps, that we're not living in a democratic world utopia where there's a couple of bad Muslims who hate freedom and want to ruin it all for everybody else, I realize that in my lifetime I can do nothing about it, or I can do my own little bit, and my own little bit is music. And this music doesn't necessarily always have to have a political or socio-political agenda of any kind. It can just be music, because music is a bigger thing than all of that stuff. Music transcends the politics. Music transcends the democracy. In fact, it could be said that music is the mathematical language of the universe, or music is the telepathic language of God, or the gods, or whatever you want to call it. But certainly I'm aware myself, as somebody who has been born with it. It's in my family. It's been in my family for a long, long time, and it's been what I've been doing. So I can tell you, I guess to a certain degree, I have looked into the face of God. I guess maybe not directly into the eyes or whatever, but I use this as an expression, just to sort of illustrate what I'm saying. I have been there and I have seen it, and it's not metaphoric. It's real. Music does affect people on multiple levels, from psychological to physical to spiritual, whatever. It's there. So I have become aware of that over a period of time, and that is what I do. For me, it's something that I really have no choice in. I didn't pick music. Music picked me. People ask the question, so how did you get into music? Well, it's not how did I get into music. It's sometimes I shake myself, because as much as it may be a blessing, it's also a curse. It's the exact opposite of freedom. I'm enslaved to it. I did not choose it. I did not freely pick this as something I want to be when I grow up or anything like that. It was there in my marrow right from the beginning. So don't get me wrong. It certainly is a gift and a blessing, and no question about that. But it's a curse in the sense that it was not a free choice. It was not a free choice that I made. So the ideal that we all strive toward, freedom of choice and all these things, in this case, I came up on the losing end of that, one might say, from a theoretical perspective. But of course, in terms of real life, and here I am, I'm very, very glad that I was made the slave to the language of the universe. Which brings me to this little bit here now that I'd like to share with you. We've not been highly active around here for a while. Lots been going on. In fact, the last couple of weeks, both myself and Lillian have been fighting these colds. And I just kind of wanted to wait until I at least half had my voice back before I did another episode. And here I am with a half a voice back, thankfully. So we haven't had a lot of feedback from you folks, so please do get in touch with us. Go over to our website at republicofavalonradio.com and just explore around there the various ways that you can get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you, get your shout-outs or your emails or whatever. That's really what kind of keeps us going. And I would like to send a big thank you on behalf of Lillian and myself and Gypsy, our ever-faithful Pussycat, to Hope in Ohio, who actually we mentioned during our walk. Hope, who does a podcast called The Audio Mirror. And you can find a link to that in the show notes, as they say. So she went over and clicked on the PayPal button on the site and showed us a bit of her love. And we absolutely appreciate that, and we send the love right back at you, only double. Hope. Very, very much appreciated. It does cost money to keep this thing going here. Just the bandwidth and the space on the servers and all that stuff. So whenever you go over and click on the PayPal button and drop something into the tip jar for us, or when you go over and buy any of my music, it makes our day when we find an email that says that somebody has done something like that. It really makes our day. It makes us feel like it's worthwhile. And in fact, you all have Hope to thank for motivating me. That was my motivation to actually get off my butt and fire this up and talk to you here and get this episode out to you. So it just goes to show how a little tiny bit of inspiration, a little tiny bit of appreciation can be such a motivating factor to get a podcast out of mothballs. So, in any case, pressing on, just one little thing I would like to share with you before we move on to our little walk. I know this has been a slightly longer than usual sort of beginning. I usually talk for a couple of minutes at the beginning and then roll on to whatever we're on about. And this one's been a little bit longer, but it's probably been pent up, and I just kind of needed to pontificate a little bit. So you'll have to excuse me if you didn't find it that terribly interesting. The nice thing about podcasts is you can rewind and fast forward, which is very, very good. The root cellar, as I started out way back when, 360 degrees back to zero, is where I am, and it's what I chose to call my studio because of the dirt floor in the basement, which is finished now, by the way. It's all concrete and everything. And because of the idea that no matter what the genre was, bluegrass or reggae or whatever, progressive, modern, orchestral, whatever music I'm interested in and interested in making myself, I think is roots music. So that's why we named the studio the Root Cellar, and that's where Root Cellar Productions came from and all that stuff. So there's the background behind that. And I'm working still on my album, and it's coming along very well. I'm getting up to the point where I've got bed tracks down for about 11 or 12 tracks now. So I could possibly even stop there, but it's not a matter of just a group of tracks on a disc. I'm actually making an album. So this thing will have a flow from beginning to end. You won't just sort of put it on shuffle and hear a bunch of different tracks. There will be a reason for putting it on at the beginning and listening to it till the end. And you will all see when it's done. But what I'm working on here currently, which I'll share with you a little bit, and maybe some of your feedback. I don't know. I'm not looking for any particular type of feedback. I'm not looking for, hey man, that sounds great, or that sucks, or anything. I'm just completely wide open. I just want to share this little bit for you, and then we'll move ahead into our little stroll into the downtown of St. John's, which took place a few weeks ago. Actually, it was somewhere handy around Columbus Day, somewhere right around Columbus Day, and I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't know that it was Columbus Day, but I ended up talking about Columbus a fair bit, as you will see. So any of you out there living in Columbus, Ohio, or Columbus, I think there's a Columbus in Maryland, any Columbus people out there, Knights of Columbus people, I guess this show is dedicated to you. Tongue in cheek, I might add. Anyway, this thing that I'm working on here is a piece of music that's not quite traditional in the sense of it doesn't have 3 verses and 2 choruses and a guitar solo or whatever. It does have lyrics, but it's mostly a kind of a musical piece. It's a builder. It's something for the beginning of the record, and it's not complete in any stretch of the imagination. But I just wanted to share with you where it's taken me so far. And it has taken me, not the other way around. That's part of the point that I've been driving it all the way along here. Let me just share this with you. I just want to show you the various elements and then play a little bit of it for you and kind of let you hear what's happening with it. Let me just make sure I got everything turned down here. Okay, yeah, everything seems to be down. Now, what I started out with first was I laid down a little thing on the drum machine, not for the finished song or piece of music, but just as something to follow, so I knew where I was in space. I knew I wasn't, so I knew I wasn't just sort of floating. So I laid down this little bit here. Okay, so we got that. That's what I was using to follow. Now, what I actually ended up laying down while I was listening to that was this bit of organ. Come on, organ. Okay, so that sounds pretty basic there, because that's just a kind of a root sort of organ part. And yes, there are other chords in there eventually, but let's see. Let's go back to the beginning, and I'll show you. There's a kind of a bass line for this. Okay, we got that part that I just let you hear, and. For any of you who are familiar with it, this is kind of dub. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. So this is going to be kind of ambient and sort of big, I guess. And it really kind of lays down something for the next track that kicks in. Anyway, here's the bit. If I bring the drums in, it'll give it a perspective here. There's also a bass. What the heck? No. Where is the bass? Here it is. Okay, here's the bass. Okay, now there's also a guitar going along with that. Where is that? Oh. loop. All right, where are you, Mr. Guitar? Can't find the guitar. Oh, let's see. Oh. There we go. And we have Kabasa. And we also have Vibraslap. And Darbuka. And cut the drums out again. I can still hear the drums there a little bit. But anyway, and there's also this ambience here, this stuff. So, just 1 second. Let me retrieve the scene for this here and bring this back up here. There we go. Yes, so those are the elements of it. The whole idea being at the end of this piece, there's that music and then there'll be the vocals and stuff. And it really just kind of helps get you into a mind space. And then when that bit is over, bang, the next track starts. So in a sense, this is almost like track 0. And it just sort of builds something from which I can propel into what you could call track 1. But of course, on the album, I suppose it will be listed as track 1, and the other one will be track 2. So that's just the gist of it. And what I'll do now is play it for you. It's you have to understand that it's completely unfinished, and the drums you're hearing are just on the drum machine, just as something to follow. And there's a lot of vocals to come in there, and all these other things, and the real drum kit, and possibly some horns and whatever. And I just might comment on the ambience that you'll be hearing. I almost shouldn't mention it because it might draw too much attention to it. When you look at a painting, for example, you're not thinking about the canvas, you're thinking about the painting, but the painting is on a canvas nonetheless. And I find one thing lacking, and I don't really see much, I don't hear much discussion about it in terms of recording music. This idea of painting it on a canvas, whatever your backdrop is, and whatever, you know. In fact, quite often, a lot of music, I find, is painted in midair, and it doesn't really have a backdrop. It doesn't have a canvas or a contrasting sort of color in the back where when you're shooting film or whatever, you put that green board up behind somebody, whatever that's called exactly, the green board or whatever it's called, meaning that you've got a backdrop there that you can work with later and put other things in it and so on. But as much as you might be trying to have that backdrop that's sort of neutral or whatever, that's a very significant part of it. It's very important that you have that green board in the background, or else you wouldn't have the versatility to do what you want to do later. So I've always found backdrops very important in music, and sometimes on a subliminal level, I'll create the canvas and build the music on the canvas so that when it's all done, I guess the human ear doesn't even really hear the backdrop anymore unless I brought all the music down to 0, and then suddenly you can hear the backdrop. And sometimes that'll be something going on musically, like on the keyboards or on any other instrument, doesn't matter. Or it could be just some whatever, I don't know, some kind of ambient thing. I find 100 times out of 100, it's effective. You wouldn't believe it. You can just take something that you can't even hear, but when I bring the backdrop, in other words, when I pull the paint off the canvas and let the paint hang in midair, woo, it's like, you know, you can really notice the difference. So the canvas is significant. The backdrop is significant, I have found. So let me just play for you this little bit of this thing, And thank you all for tuning in to Republic of Avalon Radio, episode 59. Hope everyone is doing well. And again, we'd love to hear your feedback. So get over to republicofavalonradio.com and let us know that you're there, and let us know that we have a reason to keep doing this, because if you're not there, then there's not much reason for us doing this. So all the best to everybody, and here is my little bit of music. After that, we'll take you all outside. You're listening to Republic of Avalon Radio.
Hi, this is Eddie Grant, and you're listening to the Republic of Avalon Radio. Take your time.
Republic of Avalon Radio.
Radio for lazy people who don't want to do nothing.
You're with the roar!
All right, here we are. On the road again.
Good evening.
Or good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world.
This is true.
Could be any time, anywhere.
Could be.
Could be no time.
Could be that too.
There's a dog barking in the distance, and he sounds very bizarre. He sounds more like a seal.
Half dog, half seal. He does sound like a seal, you're right.
Yeah. It's kind of bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe it is a seal.
Somebody has a pet seal.
It's a bit early yet, though. It's not Easter yet. What's with that anyway? Easter seals, or
I don't know. I mean, maybe it was like their mascot or something. They had a seal.
See, I think, you know, I had this great conversation with a friend of ours who just moved here not that long ago from Hamilton, Ontario, Sandy, and of course it spread out to not just be a conversation between the two of us. I was talking about all kinds of things, like the things that people believe, the things that were taught growing up that are just sheer nonsense, really. Actually, patent lies, let's say. You know, like the whole Columbus being a hero who discovered America, who was a, you know, big brave man who sailed across the ocean blue to make a land for me and you, and he risked life and limb, him and his brave fellow seamen, bounding out upon the bounding main, risking falling, sailing off the edge of the flat earth, and all these crazy lies that, of course, weren't factual at all. For starters, Columbus did not discover America. America was already there, the land itself, thank you. In fact, he was not the first person to discover America, because there were just all kinds of people there already, doing quite fine, thank you very much, with, you know, open elections and voting and women voting and all kinds of things like that going on way back when actually he was coming from a system of a feudal system based on a monarchy. And so for them to go over to North America, where in many cases there were actual quote-unquote democratic elections and women voting and participating and so on, for them to call themselves civilized and the people with the democracy savages, it was kind of interesting. But not even we don't even stop there with the whole pack of lies, really, because even worse, he wasn't only the first European to discover North America, because, well, not only had the Vikings been over a good 500 years beforehand, 500 years, didn't just sort of beat them by a half hour, because they nicked into the to the snack bar on the way to get a fish and chips or something. They hands down, over 500 years beat them. And there were maps and all kinds of things in existence beforehand. The Vikings had maps with this place here, upon which we walk right now. Hear it, folks? It's called Vinland, or Newfoundland, as we call it now. And they had that on their maps, but on the European maps, they didn't include that. It was part of the whole, whatever, I don't know. Part of the whole dumb the people down conspiracy, So he wasn't the first man to discover a place that was already there, with people already there, actually doing some things in a fashion, as we're led to believe these days, which would be actually more civilized, not less, less savage, not more, than the Europeans that sent him over, the monarchs with their feudal systems and their serfdoms that sent him over. It's amazing. I mean, I could go on. And here's the fact about Columbus. If we were to be taught, well, Columbus wasn't quite his name either, which is, who cares, people's names. Elvis Purcell. Yeah, Elvis Purcell. What does it matter? Super Trump. Who cares? Yeah, so not quite his name. And if history were to tell the truth, And, anybody can go look this stuff up if they want. Go buy books, go to the library, surf the internet, whatever. All kinds of lectures. Some very scholarly people have given various speeches and presentations and written books and all kinds of things on things that we are taught in our history books that weren't quite true. And this is not revisionist history, folks. If somebody tells you, if you grow up thinking that your parents are your parents, and then you find out by rummaging somehow through an old box of cards and letters and things after your mom dies or something, that in fact you were adopted, well, you're not some kind of a crazy revisionist. You've just found out some information that kind of somehow alters your situation. So going along with whatever the club or the team believes in, rah rah rah, sis boom ba, you don't have to do that. You can be an individual, and you can find things out for yourself without having to belong to any kind of a club or anything like that, of course, as we all know. But so, yes, the final point about Columbus, if we were to tell the truth about Columbus in history, he would be known as a tyrant. He would be known as a plotter, a schemer, a backstabber, a mass murdering, raping, genocidal maniac who actually started the Atlantic slave trade. So, but is that what Columbus Day is all about?
I don't think people really realize.
Well, is it supposed to matter? People say, oh, yeah, well, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, because it's sad.
So why don't we have Jeffrey Dahmer Day?
Well, that was a little bit more publicized. I think that he was a murdering scumbag.
I wonder who he pissed off. He must have really upset somebody, I think, this Jeffrey Dahmer guy.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't on the right team, that's all.
If we were on the right team, he'd probably be in Iraq now somewhere or something like that. Yeah. You see, I would never go there because I have arachnophobia.
I knew that was going to come out there.
Did you?
I was thinking about it myself. But
Were you?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So anyway, I think certain people have it right, I think, or had it right, or at one time. Like the native people, for example, who didn't believe in owning land or having to work for a living. They just lived.
Well, they must be lazy. What's wrong with them? They don't want to work for a living.
No, I mean they didn't.
And how can you have any dignity if you don't own your land?
Sure, you can.
How? You just be like a gypsy.
Well, you could move around, or
you know what people think about gypsies.
But I mean, isn't it just respect if people are living on a land and they're settled there and they're living there and they've got children and families and everything? Isn't that? You're
talking about reservations.
No. Just respect if people are living in a certain area, why would anybody in their right minds come in and say, okay, get out of here, we're moving in,
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Because they're all just a bunch of gypsies anyway. They didn't work for a living, and they not great candidates to bring home to mom. I don't say. So what does he do for a living? Nothing. Where does he live? Nowhere. I'm playing devil's advocate now, folks, of course. I hope you all understand. I don't want to get any nasty emails from people saying that I'm somehow trying to denigrate my native North American brothers and sisters, of which they are, actually. Well, more like cousins, but anyway. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think many things were probably based on respect. And of course, they had their own society, of course.
And their own problems.
And their own problems, for sure. And their own ways of solving them without having to have somebody come in and do it for them.
But no phones, no lights, no motor cars, not a single luxury.
Well, you got the starlight and what would you call that? God's big...
I don't know.
Shining light, the moon.
Well, I don't know where she's going with this one, folks.
And campfire, what else do you want?
Well, How about your iPhone?
Although in the winter it would be a little bit hard, but I'm sure they learned how to live.
But here's the whole thing now, folks. Back in these days that we're talking about, Columbus didn't have cell phones and so on. Nobody had it. So the whole idea, I've heard people say about Newfoundland, if we hadn't joined Canada, we'd still be in the Depression. We'd have mud roads, no paved roads, and we'd be like somehow all rolling around in the dirt, dying of tuberculosis. And when the truth is, plenty of places in the world didn't join Canada, and they've all got phones and internet and everything now. So no offense to Canada, but I don't think Canada invented, civilization and propagated it to Newfoundland or anything like that. It's a wider thing. And in 1492, I don't think there's anybody in the world anywhere using cell phones and PCs and having electric lights and things like that. So it wasn't just the native. So in fact, that myth, my point is that myth, that idea that the native North American, or anybody else for that matter, who's been invaded, occupied, committed genocide upon, and so on, if you just kind of have this picture in your mind of them sort of pre-European, it's, I think all my ancestors from the Cherokee Nation and from Ireland and Scotland and Germany and so on, England and everywhere, I think all of them in 1492 were, enjoying the light of the stars and setting fires and to keep warm and all that. In fact, when I was a child, that's exactly what we did. We set fire in a stove to keep warm. That's all we had in our house. We didn't have an electric heat or an oil burning furnace or anything like that. We had a wood stove, and we used to heat up rocks to take to bed with us in the nighttime. We'd heat up a beach rock, and it would literally be freezing in the room. Water would freeze in a glass, like on the nightstand or whatever. So you would heat up your beach rock, put it into like a big wool sock, or wrap it up in a towel or something, and take it into the bed with you. And beach rocks would hold the heat for a long time. So anyway, all these crazy ideas, that was my original point. The things that were taught when we're growing up, such as Columbus discovered America and all these things, kind of ring hollow at best. And in fact, when you actually do some more looking into it, are inaccurate in some cases, and sometimes just blatant lies and propaganda. So, what were we talking about first?
Maybe we better rewind.
Anyway,
I'm not sure. This is Thanksgiving weekend coming up.
It is Thanksgiving weekend, yes, which is something that we never ever did celebrate. It's never been a big part of our culture here.
No.
It's something newly adopted, sort of, after we got hitched up with Canada.
Yeah.
And
Mom was saying the same thing. They never had you'd never see a turkey in Newfoundland.
No.
Growing up, it just, you just didn't have Thanksgiving or.
But that's because the turkey wasn't invented yet. See, we hadn't been civilized at that point.
That's right.
We were still savages rolling around in the muck with tuberculosis and all that. And they brought us the phones and the turkeys.
Lots of fish, though.
We had lots of fish, and we had lots of other things. And one thing that we didn't have in Newfoundland were moose, because moose aren't indigenous to Newfoundland. They were brought in.
Mm-hmm. What about caribou?
I think caribou were around.
Yeah, I think
so.
They must have been.
Yeah, and deer.
Yeah, because that would have been what the native people here would have lived off, I guess, and hunted and all that.
Yep. But
the Beothuk.
The Beothuks, yeah. The Beothuks that were the people that were here when another faker called Jan Carew came over and so-called discovered Newfoundland, which was a neat trick. Again, sort of like the America trick that Columbus did. because again, the Vikings had been here 500 years before and all that stuff, and he wasn't Jan Carew anyway. He was an Italian fella called Giovanni Caboto. What was that?
I don't know what that was.
Some people just have lives to get, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit like, remember when you were a kid and you'd call people up on the phone and say do you know your fridge is running?
Well, you better go get it and stuff like that. Yeah, but that's when we were like 5.
Yeah.
That guy sounded to be at least 6.
Well,
he should be over by now. Yes. So yeah, it's Thanksgiving, and not in America. I'm not sure where it is Thanksgiving, to be honest with you. It's in Canada.
Probably the UK as well.
I'm not sure about that. I don't think so.
No, excuse
No.
me.
I think it's one of these kind of pre-North American Union kind of things. I think it's, Canada Americanizing itself. So it...
Mexico.
Mexico? No. I don't think they do the turkey thing in October or whatever.
Yeah, it's actually supposed to be like a harvest thing, isn't it, really? Like Thanksgiving for your bounty, for your harvest.
I don't know. There's all kinds of... If you read up on all these things, they all seem... A lot of these things seem to be tied up with a lot of spooky boo stuff. A lot of astrological, kind of spooky boo sort of ghosts and witches and
It's that time of year, like the witching...
all that kind of stuff.
The witching time.
Witch what? All sorts of witch what?
Halloween is around the corner.
It is. I mean, woohoo! Like, okay, fantastic. Not fantastic. So Columbus is a hero, the mass genocidal, murdering megalomaniac, and we're going to have a big old special day celebrating all kinds of vampires and evil spirits and stuff like that. Wonderful. What are we trying to teach the children?
I don't know.
And then, of course, this would not offend any of our Christian listeners. In fact, I think this would be most... you would definitely see eye to eye with me on this one. What's with the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus? I mean, kids, come on. We're talking about a guy who was born and grew up in the Middle East. So he would actually probably look a lot more like, Saddam Hussein or Osama bin Laden. Truth be known, not like, an Aryan, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. And the other thing too is he's got this long hair and sandals and all this stuff, beard and everything. Now, why is it? I have this theory that many Christians really aren't that Christian or Christ-like at all. Because how much do you want to bet in this time here? Maybe not as much now, but 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But I'd say still now. If somebody's daughter brought Jesus home to meet her dad, he'd probably be like, "Get that hippie freak out of here. Go get a haircut, get a real job." So what do? Well, I spread the word, and I hang out with a lot of thieves and prostitutes. And I have long hair and a beard. And I drink wine, and I wear sandals all the time. He probably wouldn't be impressed, I wouldn't say. What? The heck was that? What was that?
It was just some tape rolling off the pole, and I just caught it out of the corner of my eye, and it was something moving, like flapping in the wind, and I just...
It's a good thing you caught it, yeah. Yeah. So, what else am I hacking?
Talking about witches and stuff.
What else am I hacking apart here today? Folks, if you want me to hack anything apart, just send your emails and give me the topic, and I'll hack it up. If there's any hacking to do, of course, I'm not just going to hack for hacking's sake,
I heard the
funniest
thing
what?
was, I can't remember what comedian it was, but he was talking about, say if Jesus did come back to Earth, to life, and he was walking around, and say I don't know, some Catholic people's homes or wherever. And he's seeing people wearing crosses around their neck with him.
He'd be mortified
On it, and crosses everywhere.
Talk about flashback.
Yeah, like painful.
Yeah.
Like what a horrible memory.
Yeah.
And everybody's there, and you can't get away from it.
It wouldn't be very nice, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
So in that sense, then the cross would probably have the same effect on him as it would on a vampire.
Yeah. Sure it would, yeah.
So maybe Jesus was a vampire. And of course, we all know he was a Jew.
Yeah.
So
King of the Jews, isn't it?
King of the Jews, yes. Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So all these people who say, I'm a Christian and I believe in Christ, and they don't even actually dress or act or talk anything like the way Christ recommended anyone should act or be. They portray him as somebody of another race entirely, and on top of that, a lot of these people think disparagingly of Jews, but they call themselves Christians. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. The whole religion thing is kind of, it definitely tends to divide people. And I don't know. I mean, I guess there are good things about, but
keep some of the kids, out of the ghetto and things like that.
Sure. And well, I guess that's a big, open, long topic, isn't it?
It's an endless topic. It's a topic which spans the millennia.
And I don't see anything wrong with talking about it or like questioning it and stuff like that. Because
no, talk about it, folks.
I think if God, say, God or Jesus, would they, strike us down?
Or whoever.
If they were a loving God or a loving, yeah.
But what if they're just on vacation and they don't want to be bothered? Well, then that's fine. Like they can just have their vacation. And Why do we personify everything? If there is a consciousness which created the universe and everything, and whatever multiverses and other dimensions there are, in which parallel universes exist, in which you and I are now walking east instead of west, or you have a beard and I don't, or God knows what. Why do we have to try to personify that and turn it into... Oh, listen. Yes, we've got the LaDrew crew.
Oh, they sound good.
Yeah, they do sound good. But I wish they'd get a stand-up bass player, for God's sake. They'd be...
Oh, that would be really nice.
A stand-up bass player, one little cymbal, and a kick drum. And that's all.
Yeah,
they're being stubborn.
I think you're right. That stand-up bass would be brilliant.
Yeah, they're just being stubborn.
Yeah.
But God love them.
God love them too.
Yes.
Is it just the two of them? There is, isn't there?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you're saying like the third...
Just a third person.
Yeah. Right.
With with like a stand-up bass.
Yeah.
And the drum kit, just add one little cymbal, maybe like a ride crash, and a kick drum. That's it. It'd still be very easy and wouldn't be a lot of extra stuff or whatever to drag around. Now the bass, admittedly, is a bit of an issue in terms of getting into your smart car or whatever. Hey, how's it going?
Buddy?
What's going on? Right on.
What are you up to tonight?
This is about it. This is it.
Going around doing another show, are you?
Yeah, and just taking a walk downtown and
It's beautiful, isn't it?
and perspiring. This is the first time this year I bothered to put on a light jacket, and I'm feeling
cold.
Right about ready to strip it off. I'm sweating. Yeah.
It's all good. All you need to do is just lighten up the zipper and let your jacket breathe.
I think that's what I might do. Yeah.
Just let it breathe.
Yeah.
Just let it breathe.
Let it breathe. Let it breathe.
Let it breathe. Let it breathe.
What?
Let it breathe.
20 to 1.
20 to 1?
20 to 1. For who? That sounds like a pretty lopsided score to me.
Right on.
Hang on to that, will you? Yes.
Are you going to send us out on a song?
Send us out on a song.
Before we leave. Hang on.
Sure. Very like Neil Young.
Oh, hang on 1 second.
How about that? Yeah, Neil Young sounds good. How about? I mean, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
How about
I think Neil
out on a Trans-Canada highway was a girl hitchhiking with her dog.
Like Neil Young.
Anyway,
I think Neil Young's one. I think he's one of the fellows that believes in conspiracy theories and stuff.
Oh, yeah, something like Mel Gibson.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagination there.
I gotta go one for you.
Once
upon a time was a man named Jack. Poor mountaineer couldn't keep his family fed. Then one day he was shooting at the moon. Up to the ground come the bubbling crew. Oil, that is, like gold, Texas tea. Well, the first thing you know, old Jet's a millionaire. Kid folks said, Jet, move away from there. Says California is the place you gotta be. So he loaded up the truck and he rode a Beverly Hills, that is. Movie star.
And off we go. Take care. Yes, indeed. So that was Richard Mixer, our old friend who... actually, I'm going to take off my jacket.
He's becoming a regular.
I'm starting to swim here. Yeah.
It is a bit warm.
Yeah,
this is like, yeah, in October, and we're doing good here. Yeah, you are sweating.
I know. Here you go.
I'm not taking mine off though.
No, that'd be too sensible. So anyway, what were we just talking about? We were so, you know.
What were we talking about?
Some old kind of foolishness, no doubt.
To remember.
Yeah, that's twice now. I've just totally lost the scent altogether. I have a sixth sense, you know.
Sixth sense?
A sixth sense of humor.
Sixth sense of humor.
Yeah. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. So, on to the next thing before we destinate.
Okay.
That's a ham radio word. To destinate. People say that quite often. Yeah, fine business, old man. We're about to destinate here. It sounds rather final.
Yeah, it does. Sounds very official too.
Yeah. Okay. Nice knowing you.
We're getting on the go. In other words.
73 and a half. So anyway. Oh, what's that? That sounds interesting. We have more music. So it sounds like probably like karaoke or something.
Yeah, probably. If it's the Stetson. It's a good song, though.
And we somehow have the Hounds of the Baskerville.
Ooh!
Where's he, I wonder?
He's in a big truck.
Yeah? In a big truck?
In a big truck.
Are you in a big truck, dog?
Oh, we got another busker playing the electric guitar coming out here.
Fascinating. What kind of an amp is he using?
I don't know. It's a small one.
Uh-huh. Pig nose?
Yeah, I think.
How's night going, buddy?
Yes, and a drum machine and all.
Yeah, those guys are from, they look like Inuit or Inuit.
Okay. Well, you know, as long as you're Inuit. You know, some people play music for the money, but some of us are just Inuit.
Yeah, I like what they're doing there.
Me too. It's not the same old three chords you hear everybody else do.
Yeah,
very innovative.
Yes, exactly. I like it.
Okay, yes. Okay, folks, if this has been an entire, utter, complete waste of your time, maybe from my perspective that little bad volley of humor was... No, sorry. I take it back. I apologize.
We have a kind of a new little addition to our show, don't we? Starting this week.
We do, yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I was just about to bring up, actually.
Okay.
We're just about
Very
to
nice one.
bring up Becky, actually.
Yeah.
First heard about Becky from another podcast, from a good friend of ours, Hope, who does some of our little IDs. In fact, if you're wondering what you're listening to right now, let's cut over to an ID done for us by Hope Pavenmeyer, and then we'll tell you all about Becky on the other side.
Hey, this is Hope Hoppenmeyer from the Audio Mirror Podcast. You're listening to Republic of Avalon Radio. You're with the Roar.
Okay, yes, you are with the Roar, and we're still roaring along on Water Street here. And that was Hope Pavenmeyer. Her podcast, by the way, is called The Audio Mirror. And Lillian's going to design a little logo for the Audio Mirror, aren't you?
Cool.
I already have it, by the way.
Cool.
We're going to capture a waveform from her. We'll bring up, the music, the Welcome Back to Cairo Street, and we'll capture a waveform from that, and then you just take that and put some kind of like a cool, kind of a mirror effect on it.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where it's a no-brainer. I think the audio mirror.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it would look real. It would look cool, won't it?
I think so. Yeah, I'd be absolutely honored and pleased.
You've told me before that those waveforms look pretty cool.
I love those waveforms.
Yeah.
Kate Bush has that incorporated into the design of her new album, and I love it.
Yeah.
It looks like a bird, actually.
We've been threatening to do it for a long time now, so we'll do that for Hope. And it's the Audio Mirror. We were talking about this thing called WordPress, which we're looking at overhauling the website soon completely. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. And I guess there's no better time than the present to give you episode 1 of Little Becky. So we'll catch you on the other side.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
Hello, Intercore.
Hi, is that the demolition place?
It is, yeah.
Could you help me to destroy my school, please?
Just bear with me a second. Hello?
Hi.
Oh, but what school do you go to?
I go to a school in Dublin.
And you want it demolished?
Yeah. Do you use a big wrecking ball, or how do you knock it down?
A big ball.
Right.
Well, hold on 1 wee second, please.
Hello?
How are you? My name's Becky.
Yes.
I have a proposal for you.
Go ahead.
Are you the demolition man?
Yes.
You're the top boss, yeah?
Go ahead. What's the crack? Hello?
I want you to help me destroy my school.
You want to blow it up?
Can you blow it up or knock it down?
Whatever you want done.
I'll blow it up, that would be better. Can you make sure that all my teachers are in there when you knock it down?
I don't know if we get away with that now.
You will. Nobody likes them. They give me extra homework on a Friday and everything.
Where are you calling from?
From Dublin.
What school in Dublin?
The one that's about to fall down.
There's a lot of schools in Dublin about to fall down.
And how much would it cost to knock it to the ground?
It depends how big it is.
Give me a ballpark figure.
He's not there. Give me a ballpark figure. Oh, jeez. Who is that, hey?
Is this a demolition company or a joke factory?
It's a joke factory at the minute, hey. It's a joke factory.
Listen, are you going to come and knock my school down or what?
I will, Shirley. Can you fax me through a photograph or a site plan or something?
Right, I'll fax you through a plan of the school and my teachers' names.
Yeah, no problem, yeah.
And you just make sure that they're all in the building when you knock it down.
You put all their names on it. I'll give you a price for each individual teacher.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
When the school falls down, will it make a crash or a wallop?
When they say hey in Belfast, it'll make a big bang.
Sounds good. Oh, listen, I'll talk to you later, top man.
Sound. Good luck, hey. You look after yourself.
Fill your boots, man.
Hey, good luck.
See you after.
Republic of Avalon Radio.
Either you're with us or you're with the terrorists.
You're with the Roar!
Well, that does it for another episode of Republic of Avalon Radio, episode 59 in the can. Hope you enjoyed your time with us, and hope you can pardon my rantings and roarings and ravings and all. just has to be done from time to time. We need to get these things off our chest. So, hope this episode has found you all well, and you will be back with us for episode 60. Tell all your friends about Republic of Avalon Radio. Spread the word, the more the merrier. And from Lillian and myself, take care of each other, and we'll catch you next time right here on Republic of Avalon Radio.
The truth of history. And you know, W.E.B. Du Bois said, a people without history is like a tree without roots. It dies. And what he meant by that history must be a living thing. It must live in the present, in the past, in the distant past, in the immediate past. So I have deliberately looked in the history of the Columbian era, 1492, October 12th, when the Taínos of Guanahani discovered Columbus on their beaches with a ragged group of sailors behind him. An event that is going to transform the history of the world. So demographers in the University of California, tracking back on computers very accurately, estimated that in fact the population of Hispaniola in 1492, at the time of Columbus's arrival, had to be about 7 million people. In 20 years, 99% of that population had vanished. 99%. And so continued in the following 20 years, 40 islands in the Caribbean archipelago are completely depopulated. It is a systematic act of genocide. This we have to credit Columbus with. This we have to credit Columbus with. This we have to credit Columbus with. This we have to credit Columbus.
A Root Cellar production.